Hi, welcome back to the channel. It's Lit Life with Miranda reads. Another month is over, which means another tier list needs to be made. As always, we are following the Harry Potter grading system, so we have O for outstanding. This book was amazing. I will read it over and over. Exceeds expectations means this was a really great book. Acceptable is that I enjoyed it. I might not go for a reread, but at the same time, it was time well spent. Poor self-explanatory, dreadful self-explanatory. Troll is, are you even trying? So starting off right away, Where the Crawdads Sing, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm telling you right away, it's going up at outstanding. This book follows Kaya. She has lived in the swamp her entire life. She spent almost her entire childhood abandoned and pretty much starving. But she did have one great love for nature, and she finds ways to express it by studying the animals, categorizing, and she ends up creating an education of her own. And it was truly one of those books that's just so memorable, so incredibly memorable. I really enjoyed it. This one definitely is outstanding. Next up is What Will We Be? I'm actively seeking out books like this to help educate myself. This book follows a mother's journey as her daughter transitions into her son at the age of 5. Now, this is an extremely controversial topic, and there are people who are very vocal on both sides of the story. One thing I really loved about this book is that it took a situation where I honestly didn't know that much about. I don't know really what to think on these situations just because I don't feel educated enough to make an informed decision or an informed opinion. And it did a great job of explaining the facts, explaining the situation that this mother was dealing with. And it really kind of blew me away and helped me understand why the decisions she made were necessary for her child's health. I will say that the beginning is a little bit rough to get into. The first almost third to half of the book is actually following the mother's story, which was okay, but I think because I had it in my mind what I was expecting from this story, reading the mother's when I'm like, okay, let's just keep going. That being said, this was a great one. I buddy read it with Tucker the reader. Excellent book. So now we have The Songstress. This one follows a songstress. She and her friend get stolen and sent to the emperor to be part of his harem. And she decides to do a little something about it with her magic. And she ends up causing quite a bit of damage, I guess. It was very well written. It was a little bit heavy on a little bit more adult topics, nothing super explicit, but it's a harem and the girls aren't always there because they want to be there, if you kind of catch my drift. Because of that, you do have to kind of be aware going into that book, which is why I'm going to pop it up at exceeds expectations rather than outstanding, because I'm not a big fan of books that kind of have that as a main theme. So next up we have Actor's Life by Jenna Fischer. I've realized recently that I've read almost all of the Office books, and by that I mean books written by people who were in the office, by the actors and actresses. Kind of wanted to finish my collection. Because of that, I've picked up Jenna Fischer's book. This one's actually more of a how-to break it into Hollywood and what you need to do at different stages. You stop reaching me out of the camera frame. So Actor's Life is more of a how-to guide for how to break into the world of acting, really. So keeping that in mind, it ended up being quite a good book, and I ended up enjoying it a lot, what actors and actresses do in order to have the careers that they do. But all in all, it was quite a good book. So Summer World is a book that I picked up purely because of Where the Crawdads Sing. One of the main themes of this book, or one of the main reoccurring aspects, is that Kaya ends up publishing books about nature of the swamp. So because of that, I've been picking up all kinds of animal books recently, and this is one of them. So the Summer World focuses on what happens in the summer, what kind of bugs are coming out. It covers all kinds of different natural aspects of the world. It was quite good. It can get a little bit samey, I would say, but all in all, I did quite enjoy it, so I'm putting it at acceptable. So in roughly 2 months, I have binged my way through 22 seasons for the uninitiated of America's Next Top Model. And because of that, I learned that Tyra Banks wrote books. Multiple books, actually. I'm going to talk about later, but Tyra wrote a book called Model Land. To put it mildly, it is a bad book. And I do not say this lightly. I like a lot of the books Even books that are kind of bad, I still love them. As I was Googling various aspects of Modelland, I realized someone wrote a 50,000 word review of the book. That's right. Someone was petty enough to write a 50,000 word review of a 500-page book. And honestly, it's amazing. This man who wrote this review, he deserves an award. Not only for finishing the book, but also for just the sheer brilliance of this review of her book. I was blown away, if I'm gonna be completely honest, like how good that review was and how hilarious it was. And it actually helped motivate me to keep working on Modelland, the book. Also, one thing I really like about this review/book is that it brings up something that is something that I always kind of have like as an internal philosophy as I'm reviewing books. So if I'm reviewing a book from a self-published author or from an indie author, I often will not take it as critically as I would take a review by a big name publisher. And that's because when you're a self-publisher, you are on your own. You are your own publicist, your editor, your marketer, cover design, everything is done by you. And I feel like grading them on the same scale as a publishing company who has the ability to hire people, hire the best editors, hire the best alpha readers, beta readers, etc., etc. It's not fair to judge those two the same. However, since Tyra's book had access to all those resources and still published what happened, it's fair game in my opinion. Next up we have Perfect is Boring by Tyra Banks. I will note that this one was published after the Modelland fiasco, and it also has a ghostwriter. So it's written by Tyra, her mother, and a ghostwriter. And honestly, let's give a standing ovation to the ghostwriter because this book different, like leagues different from Modelland. Perfect is Boring is 10 lessons that Tyra's mother told her. And essentially this one felt like a very well crafted PR statement. And people who've also read this book, let me know if you're on the same opinion, on the same page, if you will. This book goes through just about every major controversy Tyra has had and spins it in a positive way. Tyra has that infamous rant where we're all rooting for you. So she goes into that, but she spins it in such a way that you're like, oh, Tyra, you love so much. That's amazing. But if you watch the footage, it contradicts. And the same goes for like pretty much everything she talks about in here. It's interesting how she's able to give it such a positive spin. I did not enjoy this book. I'm popping it down at dreadful. It's not troll because it is a cohesive book. I also listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was actually really well done between Tyra and her mother. The two of them had a great play off of each other. But again, it feels like a PR statement. One of us is lying. Whew, this one was wild. Picture the Breakfast Club with a murder on their hands. 5 kids are in detention. One of them dies. The 4 of them kind of try and go about their lives, but more and more secrets come out, and each of them looks more and more suspicious. This one was such an interesting book. I'm gonna pop it up, it exceeds expectations. I liked the dynamic of like who's the liar, trying to piece that together. The characters were pretty well fleshed out. For the most part, it was really good. 9th House. So, I don't have the best track record with Leigh Bardugo. I've tried 5 novels by her, and at most we've had a barely hit 3-star moment with them. 9th House, honestly, most of it was at troll. Like, I hated it. And when I was talking about it on Goodreads, most of you all said that you just didn't finish it either. But like, I'm one of those people, like, if I start a book, I'm going to finish it. This is a 16-hour audiobook. I mean, we're going to keep in mind that I listened to it on 3x speed, so it's more like a 5.5-hour audiobook, give or take. But still, the first 12 hours, I hated it. hour 13 to about 14, I started getting intrigued. 15 made me go, crap, I need to finish it. So the ending was really good. And if the ending was how it was the entire book, like, not a doubt, outstanding. But because of that first 12 hours of the book, it's joining Tyra. Natural causes, and this is also because of my Where the Crawdads Sing, where I just was getting all kinds of nature books, and I got kind of curious about natural causes. And it's all about what causes a natural cause death. So this one was pretty interesting. Around halfway, I will say it did get a little bit samey. It got a little bit like, oh, it's another natural cause. But it was, for the most part, a pretty darn good book. I quite enjoyed a majority of it, so it's gonna go ahead acceptable. Janice, the original. I guess I have a thing where if I watch a show, I'm gonna try and read all of the books written by people on the show. Janice is Janice Dickinson. She was a judge on America's Next Top Model. She's honestly one of my favorite judges. She was a little bit mean, but she was like that funny kind of mean. She took it too far, like once or twice, but for the most part, it was pretty good. Her book, it was very much her. So it's like her kind of like loudmouth, brash behavior. She ain't gonna take S from no one sort of thing. And it ended up being quite a good book. It was a very interesting listen. There's only like 3 or 4 reviews for it, so I wonder if it's only in audiobook form. But all in all, I was entertained. So we're gonna call it good. Jade Butterfly. As a quick disclaimer, I was a beta reader for this book, so I am hella biased. But all in all, like, this was a really good book. This one follows a daughter and her mother. Her mother has the kind of middling stages, end stages of Alzheimer's, and the daughter is just trying to kind of figure out who her mother was and try to relate to her that way. She got the emotions really good in this one, and when I was reading it as a beta reader, it was exceeds expectations. She has since then revised it, which I think pops it up at outstanding. It was such a wonderful book, and it's also an atypical book. Heartless. This one's by Marissa Meyer, and this is a Alice in Wonderland retelling. How did the Queen of Hearts become who she was? Exceeds expectations. Now, I read Alice in Wonderland once, and I did not like it at all. And I think I missed like that perfect window because I just could not stand it. So nonsensical and not enjoyable for me at all. So I went in here expecting the worst, but it ended up being pretty darn good. I was really happy. It makes me want to revisit Alice in Wonderland and see like how my opinions would change with time. Educated, right away up there. It's going up outstanding. So Educated is the story of one young girl. Her family are very, very religious Mormons. They are the food preppers. Apocalypse is gonna happen. Sexist in the extreme sort of family. She never went to school. She barely knew how to do anything in the real world, and she decides to get an education. And it's one of those books, you pick it up, you're not putting it down. It's not like a complicated read, it's just an incredibly compelling read. And for that, like, I really enjoyed it. Dog Food Cookbook. If you check back 2 weeks ago, I had a video review on it right away. Outstanding. Loved it. He very much loved it. Look at that little belly, that little quarantine belly. I love you, Bug. So it's a very cute book. It was absolutely adorable. Really enjoyed it. Bassoon King, as I said, I am reading all of the Office books. This one is by Rainn Wilson, the one who plays Dwight. Rainn's book. Really interesting. He has such a unique philosophy on life in general, also on like religion, and I quite liked it. Exceeds expectations. Conceal, Don't Feel. It's a retelling of Anna and Elsa's story from Frozen, but like under the premise their lives would be like if they had never met. So this book I thought was quite good. It actually made a little bit more sense than the movie, which I thought was a little bit hilarious. It was very well written. Popping that up at exceeds expectation. So what we have left are these like dash 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 books. Those are my currently reading books, so like I can't really rate them, but I can kind of tell you how I think I'm going to rate them, sort of thing. So Geekerella, I'm only like about half hour, and like last week I was about half hour into it. I was reading it on the digital library, and the library took it back. So far, I would say acceptable. I'm only half hour into it though, so like I don't really know what it's gonna be like. For now, it's good. It's okay. It's not bad. Model Land, I think you guys already from my earlier rant kind of got an idea where it is. It's Troll. I think like it's just so frustrating to me. This is one of those books where it did not need 500 pages. There's so much extra just junk in the book. Like things that are put in there for absolutely no reason. They are made to seem significant, and then they just never show up again. So it's like, well, what's the point of me trying to remember any of this crap, because you're not going to use it? Why do you bother setting up all of these intricate aspects of the book if it's just absolutely never going to be touched on again? But who knows? Maybe in the next 300 pages I'll like it. And the next one we have Sarah J. Maas, The Master. As you know, like I'm a huge fan of her other book, and this is her Crescent City. So this one was published pretty recently. It is a long book and the first of a series. In this world, we have magic and technology side by side. So you'll have your werewolves, you have your vampires, you have your fae, and then you have cell phones and credit cards. I'm almost exactly 200 pages into this book. Honestly, yeah, right now I feel like I'm betraying her. There's just so much detail, so much like hierarchy, so many kind of different words for different creatures, but like not super different. I came here for a good time, not a complicated time. And then again, I have been checking out what people have said on Goodreads. They're all saying that the beginning is the most difficult part. If you can get past the beginning, it ends up being like a really good book. So please tell me it gets better. That was my April books ranked. Let me know if you've read any of these. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading. Bye.